90% of founders think they know why their customers, their users are actually churning, but 90% of these founders are actually wrong, and you might be one of them. What if your users are actually telling you why they're churning, but you just don't know how to figure it out? In this training, I'll be sharing exactly how you can know the reason your users are churning from your product, why they're leaving your product, and why they're not activating or why you're not retaining them. So activation is actually different from retention, so you definitely figure out why they're churning in this training. If you're new to this channel, I do read from my tab, from what I've written down, then I dive deep into exactly what I've written down. And if you're new here also, please kindly subscribe and hit the like button. It doesn't cost anything. So let's dive deep into this training. Let's figure out why your users are actually leaving your platform and why they're churning. So in this video, I'll be sharing exactly why they're churning and how you can actually stop them from leaving your platform. So the first thing I wrote here is churn forensics is a must for you and not a tactic you must carry out. It is a survival pathology that must be done. It is the refusal to let a customer leave your ecosystem without extracting the agonizing truth of why. Most of you treat churn as a statistics. Oh, we have 5% monthly churn. That is not statistics. That is 5% of your revenue screaming that you failed. Ignoring this is not optimism, it is negligence. The cost of ignoring this is total systemic failure. If you do not understand why they are leaving, you're doomed to replace them with identical customers who will leave for identical reasons. You're running on a treadmill that is slightly inclined towards L. You will burn through seed around acquiring tourists, your reputation will vaporize, and you will be left with a piece of software that nobody wants to pay for twice. The failure state is waking up in 6 months with zero runway, realizing you spent 2 years building a product for a ghost market. We must categorize every single debt into one of these two buckets: product failure or fit failure. So, what we're talking about here is the importance of you actually knowing why your users are leaving. If you're just, having that optimistic mindset that, 5% of my customers are leaving, I'll definitely acquire new 5%. In business, we'll talk about it is harder for you to get a new customer than for you to actually retain them. So it's best for you to retain your existing customers than for you to acquire new ones. So let's fix that retention problem. Let's look into those two categories of churn. So I wrote something. I said you cannot outsell a retention problem. Many founders get stuck at a particular ARR where they believe the answer is more leads. This is delusion. If your product is a bucket with a hole in the bottom, pouring more water into it doesn't fix the bucket, it just wastes water. If your churn is 5% monthly, you're losing half of your customers base every year. Think about the sheer violence of that math. You have to grow by 50% annually just to stay still. You're sprinting up a down escalator. The amateur looks at that math and tries to run faster. The architect stops the escalator. Until you fix your retention, every dollar you spend on acquisition is taxidermy. You are stuffing a corpse and pretending it's alive. So when it comes to actually churn is a retention problem. You're not retaining your user and then you're saying, oh, I will get new users. That is where you will actually suffer and you will actually fail. You must stop viewing all churn as equal. It is not. When a customer dies, you must determine the cause of death with absolute precision. Was it murder or was it suicide? When we talk about murder, that means you're the one that killed them. Your product actually killed them. When it's suicide, that means this problem was actually from them, not you. It's not your fault. So what we need to categorize them into these categories. Is it murder? Is it suicide? First, the product's failure, murder. They were the right customer. They had a problem you claimed to solve. They had a budget, but your product failed to deliver the promised outcome. It was too confusing, too buggy, or it simply did not work. You killed them. So when we talk about product failure, that means the problem was actually from your product. Either there was a bug, either you're not solving that bug for a long time, either there was like the problem is actually from the product. And the second one is the fit failure, which is the suicide. They should never have bought your product in the first place. They were too small, too big, or they were looking for a vitamin when you sell painkillers. They wandered into the wrong theater. When we talk about fit failure, we're talking about they not being the right fit for you. So when it comes to product failure or fit failure, you need to know if your product is the reason why they failed or they were not just the right fit for you. If you treat a fit failure like a product failure, you will change your roadmap to accommodate people who shouldn't be your customers anyway. If you treat your product failure like a fit failure, you will ignore critical flaws that will kill your next 100 customers. So you need to find a way to actually differentiate these two. If you're solving a problem that is a fit failure as a product failure, then that is actually where you will actually make more mistakes. Imagine a fit failure and you're fixing your product, you're creating a new roadmap for those that are actually not a fit for your product or your solution, then you're actually creating more problem for yourself. Imagine you're fixing a product failure with a fit failure, then that also will cause more problems for you. So when we talk about this churn issue, we're talking about churn destroys your unit economics. If your customer's lifetime value, which is the LTV, is shrinking because people live in month three, your allowable CAC shrinks with it. Yet, as the market gets more competitive, your ad cost is rising. This is the vice that crushes startups. Imagine you're spending $1,000 to acquire customers who pays you $800 before churning. You're not running a business. You're running a charity for Google and Meta. Forensics is the only way to stop this. By identifying fit failures, you stop spending marketing dollars acquiring them. By fixing product failure, you extend the LTV of the good customers. You cannot fix your marketing until you fix your retention. That is something that should stick. You cannot fix your marketing until you fix your retention. So you need to know if the problem is actually a product problem or a fit problem. So let's look at exactly what you must do to actually stop churn and how you can actually identify where the churn is coming from and if it's a product failure or a fit failure. The first one is the exit interview as a confessional. Most founders are too cowardly to conduct real exit interviews. They send multiple choice survey, why did you leave? Too expensive, missing features, others. This is a useless theater. It is designed to protect your ego, not to uncover the truth. The architect gets on the phone. The architect says, I'm not trying to win you back. You're gone. But your business is vital to the survival of mine. Where did I lie to you? Where did the product break its promise? You need the raw, unfiltered venom of a disappointed customer. You need to tell them, you need them to tell you that your UI is a disaster or that your AI model hallucinate. You need them to tell you that your UI is a disaster or that your AI model hallucinates garbage. It will hurt, it will keep you awake at night. Good. The pain is a signal that you've been ignoring. Exit interview is something that you must actually do, especially at your early stage, especially if you're a B2B and you're dealing with enterprise clients. The reason why you need to do exit interview is that when you give them surveys, surveys actually, most of them they don't fill surveys. So getting on a call with them, booking a time to actually meet with them, ask them face to face why they actually join. That will actually hurt you. It will cause you to actually feel the pain, but it will save you from losing the next 100 customers. Exit interview is one way you can know why your users are churning. When we look at the superhuman's relentless segmentation, that's Raul, the founder of Superhuman. He didn't just build an email client, he built a product market fit engine. When he surveyed his users, he didn't just ask if they liked it, he asked the ultimate segmentation question: how would you feel if you could no longer use Superhuman? The options were very disappointed, somewhat disappointed, not disappointed. He found out that 22% said very disappointed. Most founders would try to make the other 78% happy. This guy did the opposite. He ignored the 78%. He realized they were fit failures. They were actually tourists. They were not there to actually use the product. They didn't even need what he was offering. He doubled down on the 22%. He performed forensics on them. Why did they leave? What did they love? What held them back? He built the entire roadmap for the diehards and completely ignored the complaint of the casuals. The result, a cult like following and a massive pricing power by ignoring the wrong customers, it superserved the right ones. So when you do exit interviews, you actually get the right data to actually know what to focus on. When this guy did his interview, he actually focused on those that were actually the right fit for his product, those that actually said they actually were very disappointed, the 22%, and he doubled down on them and actually built the product to serve those people. And when he was acquiring new customers, he focused on exactly these types of users and acquire the exact type so that when they come on the platform, they can actually hit their time to value very fast and they can actually activate very fast. So let's talk about the next thing that you must do as a founder to solve the churn. Often, the autopsy reveals that the product is fine. The patient was just allergic to it. If 80% of your churn is fit failure, stop coding. Step away from the keyboard. Your problem is not engineering, it is positioning. Your marketing is writing checks your products cannot cash. You're attracting tourists with promises of easy riches when your product is complex tool for operators. You must use the data from the dead customers to rewrite your landing page copy. If the dead customers say it was too complicated and your website say easiest tool ever, you're a liar. Change the copy to the most powerful tool for advanced users. Repel the wrong people at the door so you don't have to bury them later. So you need to focus on those that are actually either fit, that are fit for your product, and then double down on those people. Let's look at the story of Salesforce. In the late 90s, selling software meant selling on-premise disks that IT department installed on servers. If you remember that software were actually sold as disks. It was expensive, slow, and sticky. Mark, the founder of Salesforce, came along with the end of software, the cloud. Early on, Salesforce had iChurn from large enterprises who didn't trust their data to the cloud. They wanted on-premise control. They were fit failures. Mark didn't try to build an hybrid on-premise solution to appease them. He doubled down on his vision. He famously staged a protest at CBL conference with no software signs where he hired, I wrote a post on this, where he hired people like fake crew and fake protesters, actors actually. He accepted that he would lose the old guard customers to win the future forward ones. He defined the enemy. He accepted the churn of the wrong fit to dominate the right fit. When you're building your solution, you need to know those that are actually the right fit for you and double down on those set of people. The next one, which is the silent killer. Not everyone screams when they die. Some questions are just too log are just some customers, sorry, just stop logging in. They don't cancel the credit card immediately. They just drift away. This is passive churn. It is a silent killer. Your forensics must extend to the living. You need to monitor usage signals like a heart monitor. If your customer hasn't logged in for 14 days, they are pre-dead. The amateur waits for the cancellation email. The architect intervenes when the heartbeat slows. You must build tripwires into your product. When usage drops, an automated intervention must occur. I see you haven't used your reports in 2 weeks. Where are you stuck? Save them before they are cold. What this actually says is that you need to actually know when your users' activities actually dwindles down so that you can actually intervene and ask them why are they not using your platform. I think a lot of use one example I will pick is Duolingo. They send you reminders that you've not used the app for probably a few days or a few weeks, a few months, and then they ask you why, the reason why, and why you are not using it, and they ask you to go back. A lot of software actually do this. You need to also figure out how to track your users' activity, especially B2B. When you know that, oh, 20% of the company they are no longer using the software, that is a problem. If 10% actually drops, that's a problem. You need to figure out exactly why they are dropping and how to solve that problem. So this can only be done by you tracking their usage and tracking their activity on the apps. Slack actually tracks messages. They track the number of messages a user actually sends. So if a company on Slack, for example, stops sending maybe messages in 20 days, that is a problem. they need to reach out to that company. Let's look at an example like a story of Nvidia. For years, Nvidia was a gaming chip company that was the identity. But Jensen noticed something in the data. A small weird segment of users, researchers, and scientists were buying gaming GPUs not to play Crysis, but to crunch massive datasets for machine learning. They were using the product in a way that it wasn't intended. A weaker CEO would have ignored this anomaly to focus on the core gaming market. Jensen did the opposite. He performed forensics on this new use case. He realized that these researchers were the leading edge of a new computing paradigm. He bet the entire company on AI, restructuring their architecture to serve this niche. He risked alienating its core gaming base to capture the future. Listen to the outliers in your data. Sometimes the people using your product wrong are the ones who show you what you should actually be building. You might not know your true market until you enter the market. Let me use this to actually wrap up the story of Nvidia that I just shared. So, this is what I wrote down. The final step of this autopsy is ensuring it never happens again. The data from the morgue must go directly to the maternity ward. The insights from your churn customers must dictate your go to market strategy for new customers. If you find that customers in the healthcare vertical churn at 90% because of compliance issues you cannot fix, you must immediately stop selling to healthcare, kill the landing page, kill the ad campaigns. If you find that customers who uses feature X in the first week retain for 2 years, you must force every new user into feature X during onboarding. The loop must be closed. The dead must teach the living how to survive. So, what I'm just saying here practically is that you need to figure out exactly what is working and what is not working and double down on what is working. You must figure out exactly why your users are churning and figure out if it is actually a product failure or fit failure. If you're able to figure this out through exit interview, through tracking your users' usage, probably your product usage, and also tracking, maybe giving them an exit survey, then you can know what to actually track and you need to know what is actually working. And when you know what is working, you need to double down on it. If the feature is working, then you double down on that feature. If the product is actually working, if it the fits the users are actually right for you, then you double down on those exact users for your product. You need to know exactly what to double down, the feature or the ICP of those users, then you focus on those ICP. So thank you for watching this video and I'm excited that you actually stayed to this point. I'm sure you've been able to pick one or two things that you actually implement on your startup. If you're interested in working with me for us to go deep dive on exactly why users are churning on your startup by me looking into your startup, then you can give me a book. You can book a call via the link in the description. You can also subscribe, follow, or send me a message on social media. I will get to your message and then we can jump on the call and discuss about your startup. Once again, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, support the channel, and also share this with someone. Thank you.